Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Rim Shots with Sean on the Rock Rage Radio Network. And actually, this is a do-over of sorts. This will be a best-over of sorts because this gentleman and I spoke a couple weeks ago. There was a couple issues, so we decided to redo it. I have the one, the only Mr. Johnny DiFatta from AXN Guitars. I want to start with this, Johnny. Meeting Johnny from AXN ignited my love for M1 guitars from the 1980s. The collaboration will help me create boutique quality guitars worthy of my name on the headstock, Bruce Kulick. So that's what we're here to talk about. You have a wonderful partnership with the legendary Bruce, and let's talk about how that started, just for my viewers.
Gosh, I mean, me and Bruce are friends for a while now, and it started out as just two guitar geeks talking about vintage rock and roll guitars. But there was some stuff in the past, and Bruce kind of, I don't know if it's fadey, but when Kiss played the Long Beach Arena a bunch in the 80s, I was there and I was backstage hanging out with Kiss. I actually met Bruce at that time real briefly, and I don't know if that was supposed to be like the universe had us meet way back then, and then a bunch of years later we became friends and started talking about vintage guitars together. So that's what really brought me and Bruce together in 2017, I think. It's 18, right in there.
So I'm a drummer and I know what the term means, but for anybody that hears the term M1 guitars, what just to spell that out for people?
Well, M1 Guitars is sort of an ESP model name, really. And so when you talk about ESP M1 guitars, you're referring to guitars that were manufactured in and about 86 by ESP.
So you have your own company, and I mean, anybody knows they start their own company, and usually it's, you just don't start something that you're not familiar with. So you're a player yourself. And you could pick up that axe behind you and show everybody that you play. But I guess, did your company start out as a hobby for you, or was it, I'm going to do this and hit the ground running and really just go?
So say that again.
Did your company start out as a hobby because you wanted to build your own guitars, or was it a business model that you just want to go after right away?
That's a great question. Well, I worked in the corporate world, so when I was 23 or 24, I it's funny when you're a kid like that, and I retired from music. So I went into the corporate world and worked. And about 12 years ago, I decided I was going to create my own brand of guitars. And I had already been involved in collecting vintage guitars for decades because I was married and I had kids that I loved and all that stuff. So I was living the dad life, and the man cave became more important to me. And I was already involved in business. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to start this brand because I'm a luthier and I'm playing guitar and I think it's a great idea. So I had already manufactured some stuff on my own, and I'm already good at merchandising stuff, and I'm playing guitar, and I was friends with some people that were in the industry. So I was like, this is calling me back. So I think I can do this. And I saw a lot of holes in what was going on with the guitars that are available to the world right now, mainly that they're all made in Asia and they're not very good guitars.
Right.
So I just decided, I started playing my own guitars. And so I just started selling them along with the vintage stuff I was doing. This is about 12 years ago.
So, in this guitar world, I've read it again. It's a wonderful article, and we'll go through it a little bit here in a second. But the first, I guess, undertaking that you're doing is a lot of people don't, and I don't have it this time with me, but Kiss Asylum is going to turn 40 very soon. We just celebrated the 33rd anniversary of Eric Carr's passing. Bruce played on that album. It was his first album that he played on, and he was really part of that. I'll call it the 10 years that really kept that band alive. Because I mean, let's face it, I'm a huge Kiss fan, but things weren't really happening. Was the Asylum angle, was that to commemorate this anniversary that's coming up, or had was there anything more behind that? Because the guitar looks amazing.
Well, we're going to talk about Kiss here now, so. You're talking about the Asylum guitar that I did with Bruce, the two guitars that we've done with that, right?
Right.
So me and Bruce had been talking. I already I already had manufactured a whole bunch of guitars that were kind of similar to what Bruce is playing with his own brand, which is Kulik right now. It's a Kulik AXN guitar line that we're working on. So he and I thought, well, you know what? He wants a guitar that's really similar to what he was playing in those 14 years he was in Kiss. And so we kind of went back and we did some scientific research on the guitars. And guitar people that talk about guitars understand the flatness of the neck. Guitars are made out of different woods. The neck has certain size frets on it, and if you put powerful humbuckers in there, now you're playing metal, right? So we diagnosed all the things Bruce liked while he was gigging with Kiss. And he was playing ESP guitars, and he mixed it up with a couple different things, but generally they were shred guitars. They were just awesome rock and roll guitars. So there was some time where we sat there and we figured out, okay, well, Bruce likes this size of frets, and Bruce likes his Seymour Duncan pickups. And, during Kiss, he played out of Marshalls, and, the preamps were like this. And so the guitars he likes rosewood fretboards, okay? Like I like maple fretboards on most of my AXNs, and I love rosewood too on guitars, but Bruce likes his rosewood fretboards, and Bruce likes a lightweight guitar. And Bruce likes a guitar that's got the volume knob in a certain spot. And he likes his Floyd Rose locking trim. So we put all this combination in a bag and mixed it up. And he tried out some AXNs with features we thought were his and bounced it back and forth. It got real creative. And then when it came down to it, he's like, why don't we just put my face from the Asylum record on the guitar? Because I'm going to use the thing live, and it's going to be a 40-year. By the time this comes together, we're going to have a 40-year anniversary probably. So we popped out a couple of those Asylum guitars. They're really bitching, and it was pretty much a successful, 100% successful project on my part as a luthier to capture everything that his hands and his mind want as a tool to just be Bruce Kulik.
And you sent me pictures of the guitar. It looks great. I asked you this before, and we kind of giggled about it. The question about copyrights and whatnot, was there any issues with that, securing that? Because that's off of a Kiss album. Did you guys run into any of that?
So there's probably a real easy answer to that, because I'm not a lawyer, and there's a whole bunch of intellectual property rights things revolving around the guitar industry in general all the time. So I believe that there was a conversation between him and Gene and Paul in regards to the Asylum cover, or I think that there was a direct discussion, or they were fine with him proceeding with the project as it is. So,
and I've never met Bruce. I know a bunch of people that have worked with him and know him, and everybody. The discussion is always the same. Super nice guy, super humble. So I could see those being. And even the way that, his exit happened with the band, he's always been very gracious. So, I think that would probably be a very amicable discussion with those guys.
Yeah. And, Gene's doing I think he's still doing in the line of basses. And you've got Paul doing the Ibanez guitars he was having some really cool sparkle guitars done by this guy that I know that paints sparkle finishes on guitars. And so, fans are constantly after the members of Kiss, because they're bigger than life, to own guitars they could show off or play. Or some people are even in tribute bands. There's so many tribute bands, and they're just itching to get Kiss guitars. Just
absolutely. You call yourself a boutique guitar maker, a boutique guitar shop, which I love that, because it kind of has an air of I don't want to say untouchable, but you're kind of a level up. Like, you can't walk into a store and pick one of your guitars off the shelf, right? Which I love.
Yeah.
From the time somebody, I guess, places an order to the time that they get it, what's your turnaround time on something like that typically?
So I want to just clarify, boutique guitars is a general term. It's really it's big talk right now, because I'm going to just be honest, like Fender and Gibson and ESP and all these brands, they're making, like, I don't know what percent, but like 4% of their sales or less are US made guitars.
Okay.
The whole lion's share of everything that's being made is in Asia. So I'm not going to fill in the gaps with that. People like their Asian guitars. Perfect. I'm making USA made guitars. Okay. And so the thing about it is I'm doing everything here. It's in Orange County that's going on. These are what I'm calling luthier grade guitars. So that means if a luthier that makes guitars, doesn't matter, what their skill level, if they pick up my guitars, they're going to see the real shit. I mean, this is real wood that's got excellent craftsmanship in every freaking way. And all the options that are on my guitar are smart and thought out, and they are built for playing ultimate players type guitars, because the electronics are packed full of the best shit there is. I make my pickups with Seymour Duncan. We have a JB pickup that's virtually the same JB as you would have got in the 80s, except for I just put decorative gold pieces all over it. So it's an awesome JB, okay? And then I'm just picking hand-picked woods that are aged and perfect. I mean, people talk about making guitars out of super dry wood that comes out of some old building that's 200 years old. The truth is that the better the wood is, that just creates, the string starts vibrating faster, and it just creates awesomeness. So luthiers know that. So my guitars are luthier grade guitars. And so therefore I just don't, they got the best of the best in them, and everything I buy to build the guitars is the best, and it costs the most. So that's how it is. So you want a real guitar, you get an AXN, or you can wait for 3 years. Gibson's going to make you a custom Les Paul. It takes 3 years. Fender's on the same time frame. I heard they were over late 2.5 years, 3 years to get a custom Fender, if you can even get an order. Wow. So right now I'm able to turn stuff around fast because I've been working the supply chain. I'm doing most everything myself. So I delivered a guitar in 6 months to this girl that's in a band right now. So that guitar is pretty bitchin', and it was from the ground up. I built it exactly like she wanted it. So
when somebody hears 6 months, you might get the guy who goes, that's a long time. But what I hear, and I know this because I ordered a set of drums from Apex, and it took me over a year to get them. When they showed up, I almost didn't want to play them. They were so beautiful, so well made. So everything was just perfect, right? I hear quality. I hear craftsmanship. I hear next level. I hear, would that be your pitch to somebody? I mean, the turnaround is the turnaround. It is what it is. But would that be your pitch to somebody if somebody questioned the timeline?
Well, actually, I'm trying to put my pitch out there on my website at AXN Guitars, because the only way for me to really translate it is in a whole bunch of words and pictures. So in reality, like, I have 5 artists, right? And I'm a player too. So I quit playing other people's guitars when I do shows live. I'm going to do something this month in December with friends. They're going to invite me in for 5, 6, 7 songs in a set. And I used to pull out this freaking great Les Paul that I loved because it stayed in tune like a son of a bitch, and it sounded like a monster. But I started playing my AXNs, and they're just the ultimate player's guitar, and they never let me down. They just sound bitchin', and they're like part of me. So if you want to become part of your guitar, I mean, if you only got $200 to go buy an Asian guitar, whatever do you want, modify it, whatever, or buy something that's got it's already 100% arrived at what you've dreamt about. So just like your drums, they arrived and they were exactly what you've been dreaming about forever. And I could talk, drummers talk too. I understand, you got all these woods that you could choose from. People like maple sometimes. DW's experimenting with all these really cool things. Their hardware's the bitchinest in the world. They got unlimited cool little details you can add to your drum set. It's the same with the guitar. People call me and they say, Johnny, what's the best wood? I know that I heard that maple's the best. I have to have a maple guitar. Well, I try and tell people, if you want to carry around a super heavy guitar that hurts your back, just because you heard that maple's the best wood, then by all means do it. Maple has really cool attributes to it. But for example, I just made a guitar for somebody that's an older guy, late 50s, early 60s. I made it out of basswood. It's so freaking light. It's like you don't even know you're carrying the guitar. Yeah. And there's virtually no sound difference. It's like you're changing your mids just a little bit on your Marshall just to make up for whatever the difference between basswood is and maple. So I fully understand all the tone woods. I've used them. I have guitars of my own with all these combinations, and I know how they react to different pickups and whether a maple neck affects it. So when people call me, they can get my advice, or they can get it exactly the way they want it. If they want a maple guitar with a rosewood fretboard, they can get it that way.
So I'm going to ask you this because, I read through the Guitar World piece quite a bit, and because we had to do this over, I went on your website and your socials and what have you, and you do a great job. You're a great self promoter. You're very good at promoting what you do. Has there been something about your guitars, your process, what you do that you haven't been asked that you really want to get the point across that hasn't gotten out yet?
Well, gosh, people ask me all the time, can I do this or can I do that? Generally, and there's times that it seems as if they don't understand exactly what body shapes I'm doing and all this stuff at this point, because I really only have two body shapes. I have what I call a Superstar, which is my flagship model, and I'm running a AXN Model 2. The AXN Model 2 has a very traditional body shape. I've done a lot of things to kind of alter that and change it into my own AXN creation. And, I've got my own headstock. I love the shape of it. I like the reversed headstock. So when people call, sometimes they want to get a copy of something else, right? Because guitars look the same a lot of the time. They want an exact copy of something that was made in the 80s. And at this point, my guitars have the 80s vibe and they look a lot like 80s guitars, but if you look closer, you're looking at an AXN. And so the answer to most people's questions is, where do I start and how do I get myself an AXN the way I want it? And I would say if you come with some ideas of your own, and then it's going to be a collaboration together, we end up working as a team to construct your dream guitar. And then the rest of the process is about me and you talking every few weeks. I'll manufacture the body and neck, and then we'll decide on the finish colors. And then at the end, we put the best hardware you could possibly buy, and we put it on there. And then we have our creation in hand, and it becomes real life. So
it might sound like a bit of a line, but really, you're not just getting a guitar; you're getting an experience, and you're getting a whole process of a stem to stern, amazing end result.
Yeah, and the truth is that I interact with all my customers at this point. I got 10 AXNs right there. I got to play every one of them and get them shipped out the door. And so I'm talking to all these people personally, and they felt me out throughout the process, and I felt them out, and it became, this is a goal we got to within the time. Some of these guitars took 8 months to make. By the time I sourced out all the right woods and we waited for the perfect hardware combination, and these things get to them, and honestly, like when they arrive, everybody goes nuts for them, and they're super happy to have them, and they tell me how great it is and the best guitar they've ever had, and then they just disappear into the wild blue yonder, and I don't hear from them for another year or two, and then they'll pop up with some social network post and my guitars will be there again. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to be able to give customer service way beyond what you're going to get from Fender and Gibson, and I'm not trying to knock other brands. There's, all those brands have had to hustle to stay alive in the, the world of merchandising and retail sales. So, and they have a lot of great offerings. I'm in love with my Gibsons and my Fenders and a lot of my BC Riches and my Ibanez's and all the stuff I own. But what you get out of a small company that everyone calls boutique is you're going to get personal service, and you're going to get it exactly the way you want it. And here's a perfect example. People like my single humbucker guitars because they play hard rock, right? So if you want to put a pickup you like in there, some guy wanted a DiMarzio Super Distortion in his, and I said, cool, great idea. I know exactly what woods to use with it, how I should change things if I should do anything to make it sound perfect. I know where to put a volume, just one volume, one humbucker pickup, and just rock and roll. So I gave him advice, and he got the exact guitar he wanted with the things he's used to using.
It's fantastic. As I told you, the platform's they're doing some upgrades, so I don't want to miss any of this. But if my viewers or listeners, or because this is going to go out in the Rock Ridge Radio Network, which is about 5,000 radio stations, where do they find out more about you, about your guitars, the AXN, the whole shooting match?
Well, I'm super easy to find. All you got to do is go to axnguitars.com. But what we're talking about right now is a cool Guitar World story, and everybody's familiar with the magazine Guitar World. At one point, it was printed so much that you saw it at every liquor store and everywhere. It had somebody cool that we loved that was a shredder on it in the 80s Everybody went nuts for it, right next to Circus Magazine and the rest of those rags that we used to read. And so right now it's an online magazine. So all you got to do is go in there and search AXN Guitars and Bruce Kulick, and you're going to learn a little bit about us. And so the beauty of this promotion that we're doing, and the reason you're interviewing me, is that we're talking about Kiss right now. So I myself went and explored some stuff just yesterday because something happened. I was watching some Kiss videos or something, and I was like, wow, there's Paul, and he's playing this guitar, and how badass they were when Bruce was in the band.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so freaking tight during that era. And I know it's, after the makeup era and everything, but there's some good stuff in there. I mean, Tears Are Falling, come on, that solo is like everybody's favorite. And that's 100% Bruce right there. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about when you're a Kiss fan. And, I have to laugh because I've dressed up like Ace Frehley on Halloween since I'm 5 years old. So
I mean, I say to anybody listen, because I'm a kind of a weird Kiss fan because I get into Kiss kind of strangely, and the order that I bought or received the albums is typically the order that I like them. But that non-makeup era to me, Eric and Bruce in particular, I think they don't get enough credit, I think, because really without those two guys, that band doesn't get that extra time that they did. And kudos on Bruce for bringing Eric's songs out after he passed away. So we could do this all day, but what I want to do is I want to make sure that our viewers really, and we'll post it in the socials when we finally get this out, and go and visit Johnny's site, visit everything, because these guitars, man, I'm a drummer and I can say this, but they're fantastic. They look great. And I want to thank you for redoing this because we finally got it right after some sound issues last time, my friend.
I appreciate it. So is there any last question you want to ask about this the Bruce Kulick AXN guitar collaboration?
I do, and I was going to ask it a little bit because you had brought it up. As I understand it, so you went through it with Bruce. You came up with the design, but it's going to be his guitar, like his model guitar that you're putting together.
Absolutely. So me and him, and it was a wonderful experience for me because a lot of the things, let's face it, Bruce was a hot player during that period of time. He influenced a lot of people with his playing, and he's kept great integrity with himself, with his brand, and the things he's ventured into since he's left Kiss and during the Kiss era. Bruce has always stood out, and his legacy is great because his integrity is great. And the body of work is wonderful if you explore some of those riffs.
No question.
So we did this thing and we're like, okay, well, we're working together so well. It's like a, finely lubricated machine. So Bruce wants to do things constantly to make his fans happy. They want to buy guitars from him, and he doesn't feel good about reselling things that aren't living up to his legacy, let's say. So it has to be really freaking good for Bruce to want to sell it to somebody for a pretty penny. So we explored it, and I'm like, well, I'm a small manufacturer. I'm not going to be able to put out 500 guitars and send them to Guitar Center and charge this and this and this and deal with all that. So Bruce, he's got other things he's doing. So we made a couple guitars together, and we both played them and made sure they were exactly what we had dreamt up in our minds, and they held his specifications super tightly. And so I helped him with a little bit with the creation of his own logo, the Kulick logo that you're seeing now, Bruce Kulick. And we put that on the headstock, and its AXN is also on the back of the guitar in different places. And this is going to be his venture here. It's going to be Kulick Guitars. Now I'm going to be manufacturing all the ones that he's considering boutique guitars or luthier grade guitars. And so it doesn't mean he won't explore selling, some of his vintage gear or reselling other things that he sells, because he's trying to keep his brand alive too. And so I've seen so many cool things he's done with the Asylum cover and some of the other Kiss album artwork that he's worked with when he was in Kiss. So this falls in line with all the great stuff you're going to be able to acquire if you're a Kiss collector, or especially if you're a real guitar player, because you ain't going to get a better guitar than this. It's just the real thing. And it actually packaged everything Bruce loves in a guitar. Again, it has the pickups, the wood types, fret size, flatness of the neck. It's got a Floyd rose on it because that's what he used when he was in Kiss, and it just encompasses that era of Kiss into one guitar. It's what he played basically, pretty much exactly, because he played those ESPs, and I went and I scientifically figured out what was inside those ESP guitars that he loved so much.
I love the model. I love the setup. I love how you guys are doing this. I really think that it's cool. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. We've become kind of friends here after doing it. We've spent a little bit of time, and we're going to stay in touch. So, Johnny, I want to thank you for spending a little bit of your Saturday with us, and continued luck, man, and happy Thanksgiving. I know it was on Thursday, but you guys make a weekend out of her. So, thank you so much.
The holidays are here, and I'm watching your podcast. What's that called?
Rim Shots with Sean, Barstools, and Bandtalk.
You got it. And go to axnguitars.com to find me. I look forward to hearing from any of you guys.
It's like we rehearsed this, my friend, but we didn't. Thanks a lot. Peace out.